Okay, thank you for joining us today. I'm here today with Gary Gumbleton of Captial Content. Gary, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is it you do and how long you've been doing it for?
Well, firstly, thanks very much for inviting me on. So, yeah, that's right. I am the founder and creative director of Captial Content. We are a digital agency. We create video, photo, social media management, graphic design, podcasting, live streaming, pretty much anything digital, right? We're a small agency, probably about 6 people with massive ambitions. Been around for about 6 years. And yeah, that's us.
Excellent. And Gary, your customers, where are your customers based and sort of geographically?
Yeah, so we are based in Surrey, but we have like a national footprint, right? Our clients are right from, Ministry of Defence up in Glasgow, right down to Cornwall Council. So it's all over the country. And I think our usual client is kind of that small to medium business, let's say anything between 50 and 300 staff. But we also do kind of one-man bands. We do brands as well. So it's anything and everything. Really what we are is we're social first storytellers. That's our tagline, right? So what we do is we achieve business objectives by creating content. So it could be that plumber, white man van kind of thing, right up to a major global corporate. Whatever you want to achieve in terms of business objectives, we try and do that through storytelling and content creation.
Excellent, thank you for that. So just on a slight tangent, so who's the person that comes to your mind when you think about business as a success?
Business success, yeah. So it's funny, I read these questions prior, and they say we shouldn't really try and compare, because like my success versus like other people at the same age versus stage thing is very different, right? I worry trying to compare what I deem as success, but there are lots of people out there, the classic, Richard Branson and Steve Jobs, if you want to go down the cliche kind of stuff. But there are people out there, for example, lesser known than Steve Jobs. There's a lady called Becky Sims from Reflect Digital, which is part of the Lab Group. Super successful, really strong female leader in the digital industry. That you could even go so far as to say like Stephen Bartlett. There's been some great success stories in their own little avenues, right? And it really depends on what you see success, and whether that's kind of like revenue or turnover or brand awareness or giving back to the community. There's lots of people out there I deem as successful that other people might go, well, actually, I don't seem that successful. But like I said, the first things that come to mind, and that's really because I've been dealing specifically with Becky quite recently, and then Steve, obviously he's quite prominent, obviously being on Dragon's Den of late. But obviously there's the book, there's the podcast, there's Flight Story, there's all of the other things, and I think that the way I deem success is doing what you do at scale, doing what you love at scale, and I can really see that in both of those two people that I've spoken about, in the sense that they are really doing what they absolutely love, and it's their calling, and they're doing it at huge scale.
Fantastic. Yeah, what I'm getting from those seems to be that success is in the eye of the beholder, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. So obviously we all went through COVID recently. Okay. Were there any business changes that you had, considered that COVID-19 made a necessity?
Yeah, man. I mean, there were some absolutely huge changes. So when we first started back in 2017, we were just a video content agency, right? All we did was video content. In fact, it was just me sitting in my living room trying to avoid watching Netflix, and trying to hustle for my first job, right? But for the first couple of years, all we did was video content, and that's what we were, because that's what I knew, that's what I was good at, that's what my experience was in. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden our work just absolutely dropped off the face of the earth, right? There was, previously it was me and another person that would go into people's offices and shoot talking heads videos. That was our bread and butter, right? And that first day of COVID, like I said, our work just completely got cancelled because they didn't want anybody coming into their office. They didn't want anybody coming in face to face and stuff like that, So we very quickly went on the furlough and started volunteering our time. And what we used to do when we first started the lockdown period was video CVs. We would interview people just like what we're doing now, but then re-edit those videos to be a video CV, because there were lots of redundancies. There were lots of people who were looking for jobs, and to kind of cut through the noise, a video CV worked really well rather than just a 2-page, right? But what I needed to do over that time is I really sat down and thought about how I can avoid this happening again. At the time, we didn't know how long lockdown was going to go for, where we're going to go through different phases and stuff. So I had to think to myself, look, from a video content perspective, absolutely it's great for us, but I need to put something in place to stop this from happening again. So what we did is we implemented a bunch of other disciplines in terms of marketing, digital marketing, to help alleviate the stress on the lack of video content. So what we did is we re-educated ourselves on social media management, live streaming, podcasting, just like this. And what that did is it gave us extra revenue streams, and we didn't have to rely on the video content. And then coming out of COVID, coming out of those 2 years, we managed to almost double our revenue in our best year in this last year that we've just gone through. And now 70% of our retainer work, or sorry, 70% of our revenue is retainer now. It is that monthly regular payment, which is great for cash flow, right? Whereas video content was always ad hoc. There's always all these one-off payments. So what we did is we added these extra disciplines to try and accommodate for the drop in video content. And now we're like 4 times the size, right? It's huge. And we're a full service digital agency. Whereas before, when I first started, my initial goal was just video content. And the other thing that I learned, and this is still really prominent, and for any listeners out there that own small businesses right now, is a focus on my personal brand. Because right now, in fact, over the last 2 years, I've focused quite heavily on my personal brand over LinkedIn. And
I can tell that from all the fantastic videos you put out there.
Yeah, and it's video, it's written word, there's photos, and there's tips and tricks, and it's everything, right? And really what that does is it generates, for us, 75% of our incoming leads. So we don't do cold calling, we don't do emailing out to people I've not spoken to. What we do is focus on behind the scenes tips and tricks on our classic social media feeds. But then myself, I'm the character, I'm the face of the business, quote unquote. And that, like I said, generates 3 out of 4 of our incoming leads. And so it's super important to people to focus on them as a personal brand. You don't need to like exaggerate yourself. You can just be you. Just have consistency and a certain frequency over specifically LinkedIn to increase your awareness. I'm reaching like 5,000 people a week at a minimum. And I've got an email database of like 900, and 6 of those opening it once a month, you know? So you're way better. You're going to get way more organic reach and cut through if you're authentic with your personal brand over LinkedIn.
And just for people who are watching this, so they know, you said you know that these people are opening these. Are you using products like HubSpot, just so you know if people want to do further research?
Yeah, so from an email marketing perspective, we use Squarespace as the website tool to create the websites, and then the email marketing in there, because that's all integrated. And then we use Google Analytics to kind of connect the you know, what's actually happening, the actual analytics itself. But from a personal brand perspective, yeah, we're using LinkedIn and me exclusively. But if you want to look at scheduling, we use Content Cow. That's a nice little platform to, if you know, sometimes if you think of a good LinkedIn post, it's sometimes good to stay in that zone and write 3 more. So then what you want to do is get those 4 and then schedule those over the next week, rather than having to keep going back to the same platform. And you know, automation is absolutely key in maintaining a strong personal brand.
Fantastic, lots of fantastic learnings there. Look, let's move forward 5 years. What are your aspirations for your company?
I mean, this year, it's funny, I don't really have like New Year's resolutions, right? I'm too long in the tooth to, you know, try and say I'm going to lose X kilos or, you know, whatever it might be. But my birthday's on January 3rd. So this Christmas, New Year's and birthday, there's always this kind of step change for me mentally, right? There's always like, when I get to it, I'm like, okay, cool, this year is going to be X. And really the key word for this year for us is growth, right? And that, not only is that growth for us as a business, but also me as an individual and for our clients. I really want to see some serious growth. So what I always wanted was like 50 staff members by the time I'm 50, and I've got another 8 years to go, right? So there's still time. But really what I want to do is grow us as a business to be able to take on, let's say, a couple more staff. I'm not greedy. Let's say 10, in the next 5 years. I'm not too worried about that. But it's more growth for my clients and for me than it is necessarily for the business. You know what I mean? I don't really want to, branch out into any more disciplines. I'm happy in the things that we look after now because we're really good at it. It's very rare that we fail, very rare that we fail in any of these disciplines. So if I start taking on more, maybe we start, getting a few speed bubbles, right? But it's just more growth. I want to grow the clients and grow as a person, less so grow as a business. Yes, it's great to have more personnel, but it just causes more headaches, right?
Well, look, you said you've got around 6 staff.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, being an employer, what's been your biggest learning when you've taken on staff?
I mean, it's crazy, right? Like I said, I'm 42, right? And the majority of the staff here are like early 20s because they're digital natives. They know what they're doing in terms of social media and graphic design and video. They get paid to make TikToks, right? That's what they do. That's what we do for our clients.
Fantastic job if you can get that, right?
That's right, yeah. But they want different things. I'm out here going, I want growth, I want to be a better person, I want to be a leader, blah, blah, blah. And kind of the youth, the Gen Zers and the millennials and that don't necessarily want that for themselves. I think what they want is better well-being for themselves, and that's got to be the focus. I think you need the benefits of like 4 weeks annual leave, cool, work 9 to 5:30, whatever it might be. They're good, but you really need to, if you want to acquire the best talent and retain the best talent, you've got to focus on well-being. And when I was 20, I didn't care about that, and I don't think my employer cared about that. I probably work 70 hours a week, whereas I really try and put things in place to make sure that my staff have a good work-life balance. We have, for example, unlimited annual leave, and we have duvet days where I force the staff to have 1 day off a month because they might have unlimited annual leave, but a lot of the time they don't take it. So I'm trying to force them to have this time. And what I do is what we used to do was use WhatsApp, for example, as a communication tool, which a lot of small businesses do, right? It's a free, good comms tool. But what I realized was that WhatsApp was also being used personally, obviously, where they were texting their friends. So it was muddy. There was a gray area in that app in terms of work and personal, and they always felt obliged to reply to any message at any time. So what I did is I implemented Slack, which is a messaging tool, and now we've separated. There are no messages going over WhatsApp for work, so they can know, they have that peace of mind that there are no work messages coming through WhatsApp, and that's a safe space, quote unquote. And then Slack is everything on the for business on the other side. And I tried to say, look, snooze your notifications at 5:30. If anybody emails you something urgent, it's not urgent, right? We're not doctors and nurses. We are digital marketers, and an Instagram post can wait until Monday.
Look, I think you've got the well-being covered there. That's fantastic to hear that. But tell me a little bit, I'm curious about the duvet days. How does that work?
Yeah, man. So what they do is, like I said, we have this unlimited annual leave. And really it's about supporting each other, right? If someone wants to take a month off 4 weeks in a row, absolutely, if they want to do that, that's totally fine. They get paid for it. But their colleagues have to support that 4 weeks, right? There has to be a very good handover, and there needs to be a support network in terms of that team. And that goes vice versa. So if that person has 4 weeks off and comes back and someone else has 4 weeks off, then the person that went away originally obviously has to support that moving forward. It's sort of like you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the duvet days, what they do is they just message me saying, hey, can I take the 26th off, for example? That's it. We don't have any more. We don't have more than one person off on that day because it's difficult to obviously maintain a level of service for clients. But they just take a day, do whatever they need. Actually, some of our social media management team, they work from home Mondays and Fridays, and then we also finish early on a Friday at 3 p.m. Just so everybody kind of has that easy divide from the week into the weekend. And I find that productivity and return is way stronger if giving them this leash, you know, because there might be the odd time where someone says, oh, can I have a 5 o'clock meeting when we finish at 4:30? And they're more than happy to do it. They won't moan, they won't do it, they'll just go and do it because they know that the rest of the well-being stuff that we provide far outweighs that extra little 15 minutes here and there, you know?
Excellent, fantastic to hear that. So let me take you back in time a little bit. Let's imagine you're 18.
Yeah.
What advice would you give your 18-year-old self?
So 18, that was like, you know, almost 25 years ago. So a long time ago, right? I focused. No, do you know what I did? Is I'll be honest, I wasted a bit of time in higher education. I left school 16, 17, whatever the age was, and then went into college and did music technology as an A level for 2 years, and I absolutely failed it. I think you know, I didn't. I didn't really pay too much attention. There was no motivation there. I worked part-time. I dossed about for 2 years. And a couple of things that I'd learned that I would tell my 18-year-old self now is start your career earlier, because I didn't really start my career journey until I was like mid-20s. You know, I think it was like 24, 25, I moved to New Zealand. And based on a big, hairy, audacious goal that I set myself, and spent 10 years over there, really progressed my career. But what I wish I'd done is started it 10 years earlier, because there's way more I want to do and time is running out, you know? So I think my advice to my 18-year-old self is don't worry so much about education. I didn't go to university, I barely went to college, and focus more on your career. And I think if we're talking to 18-year-olds now, you know, focus on your personal brand now, because in 10 years time, that will be your biggest asset. That will be absolutely the biggest piece of your artillery going into the workforce, you know?
Fantastic. So Gary, if anybody watching this wants to do business with you, how can they contact you?
So they could visit our website, capitalcontent.co. They can go to Instagram, which is @capitalcontent.co. They can email me, gary@capitalcontent.co. Really pretty much anything through the website. Yeah, man, happy to chat. I'm happy to give away any tips and tricks if people want to talk about video content or podcasting. Happy to chat free of charge, absolutely. And then if we can help out with creating the content, then yeah, we're there as well.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Gary.
No worries. Thanks very much for having me.
You have a lovely day.
You too.